Hello, good day everyone. I'm John Carlo Sison. Today I'll be synthesizing key insights from three significant modules that explore the intersections of literature, identity, colonialism, and human experience. These modules are national in the global, colonial past, and post-colonial present, and the body, mind, and desire, which offer deep reflections on how literature and narrative shape and are shaped by historical and cultural contexts. Through this synthesis, I will discuss three major takeaways from each module, drawing from specific materials covered to elaborate on their significance. And then number one is in the module one, which is national and the global. Um, World literature as a product of national context. It's, I think, popularized by David Damross, World Literature and National Context, which challenges the idea that the world literature exists independently of national traditions. Instead, literature carries uh, cultural and historical imprint from its place of origin, even if it circulates globally. And David Damrosch also popularized the concept of double refraction, which suggests that works of world literature are shaped both by their source culture and the host culture that interprets them. This means that literature evolves as if it is read in different parts of the world, acquiring new meanings along the way. For example, Eric Auerbach's Mimesis, which faced criticism for its Eurocentric perspective, yet it still remains influential in literary community or literary studies. Auerbach's work, though considered groundbreaking, it illustrates the challenges of studying literature from a single circular or in a single cultural lens. And the second part is the tensions between national and world literature. Comparative literature often positions itself as a corrective to nationalistic biases. Yet scholars still struggles to balance the specialized knowledge with literary or literary analysis. The question remains: should literary studies prioritize depth over breadth, or should they embrace a wider but less detailed perspective? For example, the case of Shakespearean studies, while it is deeply rooted in while it is deeply rooted in English history, scholars still debate its comparison with non-Western literary traditions. Although Shakespeare's influence is global, interpretations of his works vary vary based on cultural context or based on country to country like that. And this third part of my module one, which is the analysis of short films and narrative structures. The first activity in this module involved analyzing short films and their narrative impact. One short film that captivated me was or were 1 Minute Time Machine, which stood out due to its unique storytelling, technical quality, and its character depth. While I gave it a score of 9.5, while the short film 9.5 was less engaging due to its execution. Example, for example, the 1 Minute Time Machine explores the theme of manipulation of time and relationships, and it has this sci-fi theme. which and yeah, it but the main theme is the time manipulation of time in relationships, which reveals how genuine human connections cannot be if it's artificially constructed. The protagonist's repeated attempts to create a perfect moment to highlight the futility or of trying to control life's natural course. For example, the El Empleo. I mean, one example of my analysis of short film during module one is El Empleo, which critiques the capitalistic exploitation, showing how individuals are reduced to mere tools within the workforce. They're like a cog within a machine. The silent yet powerful imagery in this film emphasizes the dehumanizing nature of modern labor structures. It's kind of a Marxist perspective popularized by Karl Marx and stuff. For Module 2, colonial past and post-colonial present, which includes hills like white elephants, the story. And my first part of Module 2, which is the post-colonial literature, which challenges the single story. If I can recall, Chimamanda Adichie's TED Talk, The Danger of the Single Story, reveals how dominant narratives erases the complexity of colonized people's experiences. Adichie argues that when only one perspective is presented about a culture, it reinforces stereotypes and diminishes the diversity of human experiences. For example, Wall Soyinka's poem, The Telephone Conversation, it exposes racial prejudices, biases through irony and humor. The poem highlights the absurdity of racism by depicting a telephone exchange where the speaker is reduced to his skin color rather than his identity as an individual. And the second part is of my module two takeaway, which is the hegemony and the power of language. Um, Post-colonial literature critiques the hegemonic structures that dictate cultural and linguistic dominance. Many post-colonial scholars argue that language itself is a tool of control, with colonizers imposing their language to suppress the indigenous identities. For example, the concept of cultural imperialism, which is discussed in post-colonial ways of reading, shows how Western ideologies continues to shape the global literature. The lingering effects of colonialism can still be seen in how literature from former colonies is often filtered through Western perspectives before gaining international recognition. An example is our country, Philippines. And the part three of my takeaway of module two, the burden of choice and societal expectations. Um, One story that left my mind baffled, which is Ernest Hemingway Hills, like white elephants, presents a subtle commentary on gender roles and societal pressures. The story follows a conversation between a man and a woman discussing an unspoken but heavily implied topic, which is abortion. So the man subtly pressures the woman into making a decision, which showcase an imbalanced power in relationships, which is I think it is written 200 years ago or 100 years ago. And another example is the ambiguity in the story. It forces the readers to read between the lines, mirroring the colonial subjects often navigate imposed choices and limited agency. Just as the woman in the story struggles with external pressure, colonized nations grapple with the expectations, diba? Like, and it is placed upon them by former colonial rulers. For the module 3, body, mind, and desire, my first takeaway for module 3 is the representation of mental health in contemporary media, especially the monologue or the story Dear Evan Hansen illustrates the complexities of mental health and social isolation in modern society. The protagonists struggle with anxiety and depression, which it sheds light on the stigma surrounding mental health issues. For example, the protagonist's internal struggles reflect broader issues of identity and belongingness. His desire to be seen or to be accepted leads him to fabricate relationships, which reveals the deep human need for connection and validation. But in but in the story, or I've watched the movie Dear Evan Hansen, and he was kind of outcast in the community, in the society, and he created a fictional story that he is the best friend of Connor, which landed him many friends and stuff, which shows the um which supports my main point, but which the desire to be accepted leads leads people to fabricate relationships, which reveals the deep human need for connection and validation. But for his case, it's artificial. I mean, it's manipulated and not intentionally genuine. Yeah. And for the my second takeaway, which is the feminist discourse in the body, especially the vagina monologues by Ansler, if I'm not mistaken, reclaims the female body from patriarchal narratives. Through the monologue it explores the themes of sexuality, trauma, and empowerment. The play provides a platform for women's voices to be that have historically been silenced. For example, the monologue "My Angry Vagina" critiques societal taboos, um, and the medicalization of women's bodies. So it highlights how institutions from the medical field to social norms regulate and control women's bodies. My third takeaway: intersection of desire and social constructs. Often literature and theater challenge the rigid norms surrounding gender and sexuality through various artistic expressions. These works advocate for more inclusive understandings of identity and desire. For example, the performance of the vagina monologues in various cultures reveals how different societies navigate discussions of female empowerment and desire. While some communities embrace its message, but others resist it, which showcasing the cultural tensions surrounding gender discourse. For my conclusion on this is these three modules collectively emphasize the dynamic relationship between literature and identity, um, whether through world literature whether through world literature's negotiation between national and global contexts, post-colonial literature's resistance against dominant narratives, or the contemporary works exploration of the human body and mind. All of these discussions um, underscore or highlights literature's power to shape and challenge societal norms. I think by engaging with this type of literature or by this text, we gain a deeper understanding of the world and the diverse perspectives that shape it, or that shape the world, or that shapes us. Um, my and the second part of the takeaway required question. Um, he elements. I mean, I think the other one is the elements of fiction enhance narrative depth. Depth. The lecture highlights key elements of such as characters, plot, setting, theme, and point of view. Where was I? Yeah. Here are my other three takeaways based on the materials provided. The elements of fiction enhance narrative depth. The lecture slides highlights the key elements of fiction, such as the characters, plot, setting, theme, and point of view. Understanding these elements is allows for deeper literary analysis and appreciation. For example, character development is explored through distinctions like round versus flat characters and reliable versus unreliable narrators. The second part is the flash fiction captures powerful moments in short space. The selected flash fiction stories like A Coffee Break and The Prosody Lesson demonstrate how brevity in storytelling can create intense emotions and profound insights. I think if I can recall, Coffee Break explores the themes of longing and unspoken connection, while Prosody Lesson cleverly plays with its linguistic rhythm to reflect a failing relationship. The third part of my third takeaway, which is the hero's journey as universal story structure. The lecture material introduces Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, which is one of my favorite. It outlines the stage of a protagonist on how the protagonist undergoes from the ordinary world to the return with the elixir. I think this framework is widely used for storytelling, especially in almost all movies, even series. I mean, movies like The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars. It it incorporates. I mean, mostly it incorporates the idea of Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, the template and stuff, which is used in great deal, and it helps to structure narrative across different genres, movies, and stuff. And lastly, my learning takeaway. I mean, my learning from Gelitwo extends beyond the classroom, of course, shaping my ability to think critically and engage with diverse narratives, and and to understand the deeper implications of literature in society. By analyzing fiction, I have gained a greater appreciation for storytelling and its power to reveal truths about the human experience. The exploration of post-colonial narratives and global literature has deepened my awareness of um cultural and historical influences, reinforcing my responsibility as an informed and empathetic individual or a lifelong learner or student. Even beyond academic life at DLSU, these insights will continue to guide me, whether in philosophical discourse or in financial analysis, which is double degree. I'm a double degree philosophy and finance. So I think these insights will guide me in philosophical discourse or research and financial analysis, finances, or everyday interactions. The ability to interpret texts, question dominant narratives, and recognize multiple perspectives, which will remain invaluable until my last breaths. Literature, after all, is not just a subject of study. It is a lens through which we understand ourselves and the world around us. Thank you. This is all my synthesis. And yeah, bye.